Last year, I did a video about how shooting at f11 can revolutionize your understanding of composition. It was a pretty popular one, and I could clearly see that it helped people understand the impact of using a larger f-stop in their photography. And that shooting that way was challenging the usual habit of always shooting wide open. Yes, for some reason, if you wonder, there is a big crowd out there that thinks that the lower f-stop is, the better the photo is. And once they get a fast lens, they tend to shoot wide open all the time. Now, I get it. An f1.2 lens is a fantastic piece of glass. These lenses are extremely sharp with great flare control and beautiful bokeh. I totally understand why everyone wants them. How else we can get a dreamy look? How else we can make our subject pop? A 3D pop. But it is important to understand that since long ago, Aperture became a marketing feature. Historically, fast glass has been positioned as a premium professional grade tool. Having such glass makes you feel professional and be more confident about your own photography. You often hear catchphrases like low light mastery or creamy background blur, and it makes you want that lens. I want to master low light and eat yummy bokeh out of my image. Of course, camera manufacturers even create these special lenses just to position themselves as technology leaders. Canon released the 50mm 1.0 for their EF mount back in 1989. At that time, it was an engineering marvel and a highly desired lens. Nikon made a 58mm f0.95 for the recent Z mount. It's a brilliant lens, but it weighs 2 kilos, and if you really want it, it has a price tag of $8,000. The question is, where do we stop? Do we really need something like that? Does a lower f-stop number equals a better lens? Equals a better photo? How much better my photography will be? Or is there another way? Perhaps a cheaper f1.2 glass will do the job just fine. Let's try and find out. We need to understand that Aperture first job is light. That would be the main reason to look for a fast lens. The lower the aperture, the better the lens performs in low light. You can't argue with that one. Even with the recent sensor improvements and great noise reduction tools, a wide aperture is still the best way to go when it comes to low light photography. But it is important to know that you will pay for that low light, and you will pay with depth of field. The more you open your aperture, the more of the background you will lose. If you're close enough to your subject, the background can completely disappear, which can be good or bad. In some cases, when you're mostly focused on a single object or you're photographing a scene from a far enough distance, that's not an issue. But when you try to photograph several objects and you want some context from the background, you are limited. The bottom line is that because of technology limitations, we often have to compromise. If you're forced to shoot at lower f-stop because you pushed your ISO to the accepted maximum and you still don't have enough light, you don't really have a choice. You will open that aperture, sacrificing some of the elements of the scene. The second job of the aperture is directing attention, and this is a very important one. That shallow depth of field that was a problem with the previous scenario is now your tool for guiding the viewer's eye. So when you're composing a scene, ask yourself, what do I want people to look at? How much of the scene matters? What information is important? What do we want to include or exclude? You see, aperture is sort of a filter between your subject and their environment. With the right lenses and aperture combination, you can crop a person out of a busy crowd. But again, it is important to understand it's not all or nothing. There is a lot of creative space between the lowest and the highest aperture. We really need to think about what we photograph and how we plan to present it. For example, how strong do you want the background to be? We can separate a scene into planes of depth. Sometimes the image has only one plane. A subject standing right to a wall doesn't need depth because you have the subject and immediately the wall. That kind of photography doesn't need a deep depth of field. Since the background is very close to your subject, it doesn't matter if you shoot at f16 or f4. But what happens if we want to include more elements in the background? That pushes us to photograph in multiple planes of depth. And here we do need to work with smaller aperture, basically a higher f number, depending on how much detail we want to be accessible to the viewer. Sometimes I see photographs shot at extreme values, f16 and ISO 10,000. Examining the photograph later, I always ask myself, was there really a need for such extreme settings? Because like in the example above, if you photograph someone near a wall, you could use f.4 or f5.6. The photograph would look visually very similar, but with acceptable ISO values, something between 640 to 1250, which is much cleaner and more pleasant to look at. This is just one example, but what I'm trying to say here is that you don't need to use a set of settings religiously. Sometimes you need to shoot at low f-stop, sometimes at a higher one. That's why there is a whole spectrum of options between f1.2 to f16. Always think about what you want to show. For example, in portraiture, you want the attention to go to the person you photograph. So naturally, a lower f-stop is a welcoming choice here. But even here, we shouldn't blindly set it to f1.2 and forget it. Because if you photograph more than one subject, and they are at different distances from the camera, it is very likely that one of them will be out of focus. Do we want that? If it's intentional, there is no issue. But it's not nice to make this mistake while shooting and discover it only back home. So think about Aperture before. Let's say we do an environmental portrait. This is a portrait where the person and their facial features are only part of the story. We want to include extra context, which usually comes from the place our subject is in. In that case, we want to keep the attention on our main subject, but we also allow the background to sneak in. By doing that, we show our viewers not just our subject, but also the environment they exist in. And that requires closing down the aperture. But here lies another danger. And actually, this is what scares most photographers. The moment we increase the aperture value and let the background get in, we risk bringing uninvited guests into the image. And what do I mean by uninvited guests? When we shoot at low f-stop and our object is separated from the background by a thick layer of blur, any distracting elements in the background become invisible for the viewer. That allows us to be less conscious of what is happening back there. Yes, there might be some light or color spots, but overall, the attention still goes straight to our subject. But once the aperture value goes up, every single element can become a potential distraction. Background control and a compositional understanding of whole scene becomes incredibly important. And this is where most photographers miss the point. Bokeh is not the goal of your image. It's not what makes your image automatically good. The goal is communication, how the viewer connects with your visual idea. Your aperture is simply a tool for attention control. Many beginners use a shallow depth of field because they don't know how to organize a frame. The majority of photographers, not you, but the majority feel that a low f-stop lens is better because you can produce nice images without caring much of what's going on behind your subjects. They will just blur the problems away and call it professional photography. That is why they buy only the low f-stop gear and pay loads of money for it. But in fact, this is laziness and lack of skill. A photographer should be able to look beyond the subject and control the background, control all the elements out there, control it and blend it with your subject seamlessly. Pay attention to any distraction that is there. That will allow you to create images that go beyond single objects and blurred backgrounds. Again, take a look at my composition starts at f11 video to get more details of how to approach this and get out of this wide open shooting mindset. For a photographer that has mastered that part, expensive glass doesn't matter as much anymore. Yes, the optics might be better, the lens might have a coating or two more, but overall, once you obtain the skill of photographing with higher apertures, you become less dependent on expensive gear. And a whole new world of photography opens up in front of you because now you know how to work without that dependency. Now let's look at some images photographed in different apertures and I will explain you my thought process behind each decision. On the first image, I used a high aperture of f10 to preserve the proper shape of the fence, the shadows, and the subject passing behind it. I wanted everything sharp. Using a low f-stop would force me to sacrifice one of the planes, either the fence or the subject. On this one, I used f11, focusing on the man in the area in the right. I knew that this kind of aperture would play nicely with the shapes of the fruits on the left-hand side and add more context to the image. Imagine this photograph shot at f1.2. You wouldn't see the fruits clearly at all. It would be just a colorful smear. It would be a completely different photograph. On this image, I used f10. I liked the shape of the window and the textures of the wall. I wanted them all in. Here I went crazy and went for f16 because the back wall was quite far and I wanted to have reasonable sharpness of both the subjects, in the front or in the back. I'm using f9 here. I wanted to see the face of the guy, not just the cow. Here, because the people are quite close to each other, I went for f7.1. In this image, although there are a lot of planes of depth, my focus was on the colorful background and the foot traffic there. Therefore, f4 was enough. The leading lines on the side helped me to direct the attention. I didn't need them sharp, I just need them existing there. Here I wanted to layer the woman, the taxi, and the bus, so I used f8. Here I wanted to layer the woman, the taxi, and the bus, so I used f8. This particular image might work even better at f11 and f13, but what can we do? The moment was gone and these were the settings that I set first time. Here there was a lack of light. My ISO was already at 3200 and as much as I would love to have the figure entering through the door behind my main object in more focus, pushing the aperture above f2.2 would introduce way too much noise, so I kept my focus on the gentleman and sacrificed the background. This is a low light scenario, f1.4. Same here, f1.4. This gentleman was walking very close to the wall, so the aperture is at f5.6. I made a mistake here with the shutter speed being 1/60 of a second, but luckily he wasn't moving fast. Now here I was playing with the perspective. I wanted to merge these two walls and make them feel like they're at the exact same distance from the camera, so I used f6.3. I think it would work better even at f9 or f11. That would really merge them. But just out of curiosity, let's see, can you recognize which of the walls is closer? The one on the left one or the one on the right? Tell me in the comments. This is a similar scenario of a subject passing near a wall. I am at f2.8, perhaps f4 or f5.6 would be better, but luckily she was very close to it, so it doesn't really impact. Here, on the other hand, she is further from the wall, and I wanted the Burmese writing on it to be visible. That gives that extra sense of place, so I pushed the aperture to f8. You see, when you want to bring context of the surrounding, you have to increase aperture. In this photograph, the subject is far back, but I also want to take the advantage of the wall texture, so I went for f9. And in this photograph, the aperture is at f4. I would love to have it slightly higher, like f6.3 or f7.1, to compensate for the fact that my focus hit the cow, and the face of the boy is a bit out of focus. Alternatively, I should just have the focus on the right place, on the boy's face. In any case, a bit higher aperture would probably be better. Here we have a large crowd of people, and there was a very little light. So from one side, you don't want to bring all the people into the frame. On the other side, you still want to give them presence. So I used f4.5 to keep him in focus, but also give a sense of the crowd. I could have gone to f1.8, but that would cut him out completely, and I didn't want that. As you see, there are a lot of factors to consider when you decide which aperture to use. An expensive lens is not necessary in the solutions. Out of all of these photographs, I used my lower aperture only in situation when I needed the light. And even then, f1.4 or f1.8 could do the job fine. With proper understanding, aperture becomes a storytelling decision, not just a technical setting. Today, my brightest lens is at f1.8, and I rarely feel the need for a brighter one. And it comes with big benefits. I'm becoming much better with my composition, because I do consider the background always. I don't follow lens trends anymore, and I don't feel the need to spend large amounts of money to improve my photography. It's not in the lens. And I have significantly less neck and back pain, because these maximum aperture lenses are heavy. I hope this was interesting for you. If there is any question running through your mind right now, leave it down in the comment section. Otherwise, see you again and happy shooting!